Assalamu alaikum, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear MA English students and viewers, today we have the next lines I'm going to share to you from Prologue to the Canterbury Tales, Geoffrey Chaucer's Prologue to the Canterbury Tales text, which we were doing it from the previous section. I will tell you which section we are going to do today, okay? I hope so. We're going to do from line number from the night. The last time we finished the first text. Now we are going to do from the night. Okay. If you can see the screen, line number 43, starting from a night. Previously, we finished up to line number 42. 1 to 42, we already finished in previous lectures. This lecture, we are going to finish night. First, Old English and Modern English. Let me make a comparison from Old English to Modern English. A night there was, and that a worthy man. Means a night there was, and that one was a worthy man. That from the time that was first began. You see T-Y-M-E, Old English. Now in the Modern English is T-I-M-E. That's why I have written Modern English lines so that you may be understanding it. Began B-I-G-N, Old English, but now B-E-G-A-N, okay? So that's why I'm speaking in Modern English so that you can be able to understand. Who from the time that he first began to write out, he loved chivalry. Write out, he loved chivalry, okay? Truth and honor, freedom and courtesy, fidelity and good reputation, generosity and courtesy, he loved very much. It's about the knight. Fulworthy was he in his lords were you see in Old English, W-E-R-R-E, okay? It's now war, W-A-R. He was very worthy in his Lord's war. And thereto had he ridden so no man far. Far mean farther, okay? And for that he had ridden no man farther. As well in Christendom as in heatheness, as well as in Christendom as in heathen's lands, and every honor of his worthiness. Okay, so let me interpret now. There was a knight who was a very honest person, and from the time he first began, he was actually riding. He loved chivalry, meaning taking part in the battles with battle arms and with arrows, sword. Okay, he was a chivalric person. Truth, honor, and freedom. He liked, and he had a courtesy also, generosity also. He had as a knight, he has a very good reputation, and he was also worthy with his lord's war. Because different lords were having wars in Europe, so he was with them. And he was also very sincere to them. The fact that he had really no man, and up to what extent he rode, he went to Armenia, he went to many other countries. So no man could do this, what he did as a knight for fighting for the Christians. So as well as in Christendom, as in Heathen, he not only fought in the land of Christianity in Europe, but also he fought in the land of heathen. He doesn't mean non-Christians. He also fought there. And every honor he is for his worthiness. And wherever he went, he was honored for his worthiness. Worthiness means for his honor, for his sincerity with the war. Okay. Now we can see at Alexandria he was when it was won. He was in Alexandria when Alexandria was won by Christians. Full often time he had been the board begoni, and he had sat very many times in the place of honor in front of the kings and lords. Above all nations in proofs, he said, just before this I told many nations. In spite of that, he also fought in Prussia. Okay, in Latvia had he raised and Rus. This is Latvia, I mean Lithuania is the modern state now. You know, it's a member of European NATO. Lithuania, these are three small states with Poland. And Rusi means it's Old English Russia. So he also took part in the campaign in Lithuania and Russia also. No Christian can offer his degree. No Christian knight could reach his rank. I mean, he was so much good at war that no Christian could reach in his status of war. In Grenada, at the siege, he had been. In Spain, Grenada, during the siege procedure, he was also there. At Aljazair and riding in Bilmaria. In Al Jazeera, I mean, Al Jazeera is a Muslim country. He was there. In Morocco also. Bilmaria means Morocco. Old name of Morocco is Bilmaria. At Lice was he, and at Australia. He was also in Aish and Italia. So these are two. Italy is a big state now, but in Italy we can say in modern language. And there was another small state in Europe in the 14th century. Aish was also there. Okay, 59 when they were won, and at the time when Italy and Aish were won, he was there, and in Great Sea also he was in the Mediterranean. Great Sea means Mediterranean Sea. He was there. At many a noble army had he been. He was in many noble armies. He took part for Christianity. He had been at many a noble expedition. He went on many expeditions. Okay, but I would like to say Mediterranean mean he took. I think here they are pointing out with the king of Cyprus, he took part in a war in Mediterranean. So because king of Cyprus had a war at that time, and that knight also went there and he took part. There are many noble expeditions. Noble means for the Christianity it is called noble. At mortal battalions had he been 15. In mortal battles he fought. The number of battles were 15. Very any horrible battles he fought on for our faith at Trimsini. And Trimsini was a area name of that small place where he fought for the faith of Christianity. Okay, and also fought for our faith at Tlemceni. And Tlemceni is a place where he was fought for Christians. In listed thrice and has slain his foe. I said he 3 times in formal duels, and also he killed his the enemies of Christians. Foes mean enemies. This like worthy knight had been also the same worthy knight and had been also sometimes I think this knight also sometime with Patalia, Lord of Patalia and King of Patalia, Balat, King of Balat also he was there. Again another heathen in Turkey, another non-Muslim, non-Christian. He was in Turkey. He took part with some non-Muslims also in the war. Line 67 says, and every more he had sovereign praise. Wherever he went, he was an outstanding reputation. Everybody praised for him and thought that he was worthy, he was wise. And everybody thought he was very worthy, very honest, and he was also has wisdom. Although he was brave, he was prudent. So he was brave, but he was also wise. And of his port as meek as a maid. And he, as far as of his deportment, as meek as a maid, he was very gentle like a maid, yeah, like a bachelor girl. He never yet no violence, no sad. He never yet said any rude word. All his life unto no manner wide. I mean, all his life unto he has not any sort of person you could see such a nice person. He was a very perfect gentle knight. That's Chaucer really says it's not a satire. He was truly perfect noble knight. As a Christian, Chaucer is saying something about the knight. Okay, so but for to tell you of his array, but to tell you of his clothing, his horse was good. He said, if I tell you about his dress, his horse was very good. He was not a gay. He did not like sharp colored dresses like the gay are wearing sharp colored dresses. First year he wore a jipan. He was wearing a cloth, coarse cloth. I mean, he was wearing a jacket type of cloth and besmarted with his habergeon. And he stayed with the rest of his coat of mail, for he was late coming from his wife. So when in Taberton he reached, he was recently coming back from one of his expeditions because of the night he was coming back from one of his expedition and went for to do his pilgrimage. He went to do his pilgrimage. Now he had to go for his pilgrimage now. So that is wrote for the knight. Now next 79 for Chaucer, but for square, but we have to go for, today we are going for the knight. So let's see, now we go for further explanation. You could see, I would like to tell you the further explanation. You could see the further explanation is it's very simple. I hope so that you all will enjoy because lines knights actually starting from line number 43 to 78. So this is really amazing, very nice character if you could see. I would rather say from line 43 to 78, the knight is one of those characters about whom you have to be careful in a sense what you have to decide in whether Chaucer sees the knight as a worthy man or as a mercenary killer. That's a question because he's satirist. So in satire, where does it stop? Last sense, a knight who was maybe a worthy man or a mercenary killer, licensed by faith, because Chaucer's tone is often ironic. We have to be careful that we do not find reversal of meaning, okay, where none was intended. If we take Chaucer's description of the knight as plain statement, we see him as an ideal character. Knight is an ideal character. A defender, why ideal character? Because he was a defender of Christian chivalric values, have modest and quietly spoken. For example, you can see the lines I have already read, and thought that he was worthy, he was wise, and of this sport he's meek as a maid. He never yet no villain, nay said in all his life unto no manner right. He was a very perfect gentle knight. The word last line, he was a very perfect gentle knight. Mean worthy is the key word in the knight's characterization. It is used to describe him no less than 4 times. Okay, is it used to emphasize his worth, or is it like Mark Antony's honorable in his famous speech in Julius Caesar, gradually accumulating ironic connotations? If you choose an ironic interpretation, so you'll have to square it with Chaucer's seeming endorsement of those 5 knightly values. What are those 5 knightly values, which you can understand according to my point of view? Chivalry, truth, and honor, freedom, and courtesy. These are 5. Okay. Chivalry, with its codes and obligations, lay deep in the medieval mind. The order of the Garter had been founded by King Edward III, in the mid 14th century, and the Arthurian legends were almost the equivalent of our Western in the way they offered patterns for behavior in a crisis. Okay, so every crisis he reached in the war and he won the war. He was a very gentle knight. Okay, most of the expeditions he took part, you may be helping your decision about the tone of his portrait. Okay, you try to understand when you think an image comes to your mind of a Chaucer's knight character by a consideration of medieval perspectives, which whatever the historical reality. I think a Christian student for doing a master in English can understand more the character of a knight and his height and his purpose of fighting wars. Okay, what we have to understand, the knight would be doing his Christian duty. Okay, the Muslims don't doing master in English to understand. So what the Chancellor wants to say, the knight would be doing his Christian duty, defending his faith against the infidel. It may be that scattered throughout the portrait, there are clues that Chaucer gives the knight values and qualities that the author himself endorses. Right at start, we might have a kind of touchstone character against which many of subsequent pilgrims will be placed and found to be flawed. Okay? He's also the start because he's the person or highest social status on the pilgrimage. That's why I think Chaucer started with the knight. There are 29 characters, but Chaucer started with the knight. Why? The question does arise why. So through Chaucer, I think through Chaucer's description of the knight service in his lord's warry, this word is very important, the wars of his lord, we are given some idea of the frontiers of Christendom, like Lithuania, like Russia, Asia Minor, North Africa, and Spain, because in Grenada also when it was besieged, okay, besieged, when Grenada, the Christians were the capital of Spain, taken from Muslims. The fact that so many men had contact with different cultures must have eventually enriched European life. That Europe was emerging. 14th century society was a society where there were no machines. People were just, later on when the machines came, the handicrafts were changing from handicrafts to machine. But 14th century society was a simple society. The fact that it is the same age of 14th century society when Ottoman Empire was expanding. Okay, Turks under the leadership of Osman, Kurulus Osman, were expanding their I think up to Chaucer's age, they might have occupied Constantinople. I hope so. That was the capital of Byzantine Empire, or maybe they were moving toward that, and there was, this is what was happening in 14th century at this time. The fact that so many men spent much of their active life away from their home in the wars, okay, whether they were Christians or whether they were other nations, in part of the development of courtly love as a literary phenomenon. But Christians were doing in this context, okay. Chaucer's knight, because we are discussing Chaucer's knight, has spent a long time away from home. Okay, chronologically, the earliest campaign was the siege of Grenada. I think the siege of Grenada was made in 1343 in Spain, okay. He was there. Chaucer, when Grenada was siege, he was there. Okay, followed by the capture of Algiers in 1344. Algiers was fallen, okay. This campaign was led by Henry, Earl of Derby, who was the grandfather of the man who even, eventually became Henry IV, the King of England, from 1399 to 1413. King for the last year of Chaucer's life. He was the king for the last year of the Chaucer's life. Between 1345 and 1360, England was at war with France, with campaigns not mentioned by Chaucer. In this book, we don't see 29 characters, any war with France Chaucer has described. However, in 1360, the knight seems to have joined Asia Minor in 1361, and Alexandria in 1365, Alexandria in Egypt. You see, they fought there. And also, he also had a campaign in Armenia. Armenia, the city of Armenia, where this war he fought was Lace in 1367. Okay, I think Armenia is also a Christian country in Central Asia. The heathen lord of Plataea, probably I think he's talking about Plataea, old name of Plataea. Now we can say Balat in Turkey, the city of Balat in Turkey. Turks were moving towards Europe before taking Istanbul, which is Constantinople, the capital of Byzantine Empire. There were different wars were being fought, which you see in Kurulus Osman series. Okay, it's documented as having a treaty of friendship with King Peter, who seems to have loaned from the knight service in 1365. After this, the knight campaign in Lithuania and Latvia are small states with Poland, okay, also touching with Russia and Ukraine, with the Teutonic Order. You see now, possibly returning in 1386 when the Lithuanians accepted Christianity. That was the year when Lithuania became Christian. So when Chaucer says him, and when Chaucer in his line, he's saying, and evermore he had a sovereign place. His supreme reputation was hard won and sustained over some 40 years. Several of Chaucer's friends could have contributed to the idealized portrait of knight. It's an ideal portrait. Knight is an ideal portrait of Geoffrey Chaucer's poetry. Three members of the Scroope family, Sir William, Sir Stephen, and Sir Geoffrey all took part in the campaign listed for the night. Try to understand what Chaucer actually portraying for us. Two of the Chaucer's Lollard friends, Sir Lewis Clifford, and one of his Chaucer's friends, Sir John Glenbow, might have supplied the tone of moral integrity for writing these characters. You try to understand. The tale of Knight's clothing tell us much about his character, as I've already uh, read these lines. I again read to give you some explanation because it's the commentary I'm making. His horse were good and he was not gay. Of his first sin he wore a jeepman, all besmorted with a habergeon. For he was lately coming from his voyage and went it for to do his pilgrimage. So what does he mean? He means, I've already explained these lines. I'm making more explanation. He has a good horse, but unlike many of other pilgrims, he does not set any store by stylish and decorative clothes. His first act on returning from his latest campaign was to join the pilgrimage without finding the time to change out of his service clothes. Compared with the other pilgrims, he may be draped in his hard-wearing fustian tunic stained with the greasy and rusty effects of wearing and chain mails, but Chaucer shows these stains to be badges of honor, which were given to him during wars. Okay, so it may be thought that Chaucer is starting the description of the pilgrims with a model, a standard against which others will be judged. Okay, where the knight is prudent, others are reckless, where he is humble, others are aggressively arrogant and self-opinionated. Here is a man who has subjugated his individuality to service and put his duty both as a warrior and as a pilgrim. Okay, Knight was a pilgrim. What he was doing in Taberton with Geoffrey Chaucer, because he came for a pilgrimage. He was coming from his war, from his voyage. And as a warrior, he came back and now he's going to pilgrim. He was a religious minded person. Okay, before reward and external appearance. So as a pilgrim, he was joining as a pilgrim. So I can wind up now. I think these lines, you can see, if you're looking for two simple ways of gauging Chaucer's attitude toward the characters, you might find it useful to consider the ideas of the flowmen are not treated ironically. These have, I think, there are some characters, the ideas of service and self are the characters like knight, clerk, parson, and plowman are not treated ironically because these people have, Chaucer has different attitude. These have all dedicated their life to the service of their God, their country, their request for learning, okay, their parish and their neighbor. In this dedication, they have submerged their identities. Notice how many of the other pilgrims are concerned about manners, clothes, and their own self-importance, or worse, of all have diverted their opportunities for exercising their duty into chances of self-indulgences and profit. But Knight was one of the cleanest character, a clear character of honor and respect. Chaucer do not have any satire about him. When he's saying he was like a maid, this means as a religious person, as a warrior, he was like a maid. The war, he fought very horrible 14 wars, Chaucer wrote. He was so horrible fighter. He was killing people, but he was like a maid. He was a gentleman like a maid. That's the quality of a knight he's describing. That's all for today for the character of knight. Thank you very much. Do not forget to subscribe this channel and wait for my next video. Have a nice day and wait for the next video. Do not forget to subscribe this channel. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.